Thank you all for coming along. I hope everyone enjoyed lunch. Whoever arranged lunch, it was fabulous. Thank you very much. For those of you that play on Twitter or Facebook or anything like that, you've probably seen the Hippo. Quick potted history. The reason it's called Little Hippo, it really is my old school nickname. Age 12, back of geography class, the teacher said, well, the two giggling hippos, please shut up. And it was me and my best mate. We've been Little Hippo since we were 12. Had to put Spike Milligan in to see if people are awake. But that's the whole thing with Little Hippo. It's supposed to be fun. How we started, Little Hippo is about to become a community interest company, and our primary aim is to support emerging and existing artists and creatives in the region. A lot of our artists come to us with mental health breakdowns, with family breakdowns, redundancy, all sorts of normal life situations, and we get a lot of creators because for any of you that are aware, there's a direct correlation between possibly not being able to engage in the normal wider world of society and the creative brain. So that's where we're trying to fill the gap. A lot of our artists want to become self-employed in their own right, and working as a collective, we've got a stronger chance of doing that. We're very good at picking up on getting people's branding, getting their USP right, things like that. We're aiming to provide training, work experience, courses and classes in creative practices right the way up from. So if you've got a little one that wants to have a go at felting, up to an emerging artist that wants to figure out how on earth to do their tax return, we'll offer both sides of the coin. The other thing is, because my background's quite political, I'm a very strong believer in these type of community change groups should become advocates for lobbying. There's been a lot of problems in the creative industries around self-employment issues, tax issues, things like that. It's very hard as a lone voice to get heard. You also feel like you're being a bit stupid, you feel like nobody's listening, you think, oh, maybe I've got this out of proportion. So if a lot of us come together, you've got a much stronger chance. Bit of brief background. Little Hippo, it began trading as sole trader in 2011, moved to Shropshire 2012. We tried to transition into a cooperative, but unfortunately, although I transitioned, a lot of people didn't, and they still saw it as my business. So we kind of thought, okay, everyone identifies with the hippo, we'll go back to being hippos, it's easier. But in that time, just in that short space of time, we've worked with over 200 artists, we've run over 100 events, and I've taken many through into self-employment. It does work. We can do what we say we will. In terms of change, what tends to happen is you tend to identify a problem, but in order to resolve that problem, you need the people. You need the people with the passion, but they also need a product. It doesn't necessarily have to be a tangible product. I mean, if we mention things like the Arts Hub, there are events and activities. That's the product. I'm not necessarily talking about a finished product. You also need a place. It could be a physical or it could be online. It doesn't have to be a real place these days. But the key thing you need is persistence. Whether we like it or not, you are going to get knocked back. You are going to get people that go, what on earth are you doing that for? I see you smile. You've obviously heard this. You know exactly where I'm coming from. You need persistence. There's no two ways about it. But if you've got the other things in place, what will happen is eventually other people will pick up on that passion and that persistence, and you'll start to get a group of you. And that's when it gets interesting. Ideally, what you need to create change, you've got to have those people that want to make the change. But it mustn't be change for change's sake. And the other thing that I'm always nervous of is when people see a pot of funding, they go, oh, we can do such and such. It's a case of, no, think of your project first. If you need money, look for the money afterwards. Don't look for the money and see what will fit. That won't create lasting change. And you'll go about it slightly the wrong way. But you do need passionate people. You need people prepared to go, actually, I'll stand up and be counted. You also need a mix of skills. I mean, a lady that was speaking this morning saying about, have you got listeners, have you got artists, have you got photographers? I'm incredibly fortunate that the two ladies I'm working with and the three of us are now founding directors. No surprise, I'm the one that goes out in front and goes, ta-da! Isn't this fabulous? Lisa sits behind going, you haven't thought this through, Lewis, have you? And then Sarah goes, no, she hasn't, but if we pick that bit and pick that bit, we can make it work. So I'm incredibly fortunate to have, we've got such a diverse range between us, and we support each other, we complement each other. They're not interested in going out front, and I'm not interested in all the detail. It goes to Lisa, yeah, tar, go on. But you need that dynamic, you need that mix. If you've got everybody in your group that wants to be out front, you've got nobody in the background going, hang on a sec, have we read this paper properly? Do we actually know what's wanted from this project? Have we actually spoken to our community properly? So you need that mix. And everybody's contribution is important. To those of us that are the noisier ones, if we're not careful, we overlook the quieter ones. But without the quieter ones, we don't get to be the noisy ones. So everybody is valuable. Everybody. This is something that we need to look at as people, and it's something you should be doing throughout any project, not just at the beginning. I think people do this very well at the beginning, and then you forget as you go through. You plan to do something, then you do it, then you look, is it working? Do you need to change it? What you have as your original plan right at the very beginning, I guarantee you now, it will change. It may not change massively, but it will change. There's no two ways about it. So what you envisage doing initially, as you meet different people and as you get different ideas, as your community changes, as government strategies change, this will change. Don't be frightened of it. Just keep doing this at every stage. So if you've got milestones in your business plan or whatever, keep doing this. Keep planning, keep doing, keep reviewing and keep revising. There's nothing wrong in turning around and going, we wanted to do ABC, but actually, that's not going to work for us now. Could be a multitude of reasons why. Don't be afraid to revise things, because you'll be doing it for the right reasons. But if you don't keep reviewing, you can't judge how you're doing. How on earth can you move forward if you're not sure what you're doing? This is something that people take a while to get their heads around. Change isn't always easy, particularly in communities. How many people have worked in communities and heard, oh, we've always done it like that? Yeah, pretty much most of you. Been there, done that, yeah. James, fencing? Yeah. So what you need to do when you're looking to be a change agent, because that's essentially why people are here today, but if you're looking to create change, you've got to be aware of why people want to be involved. Why do they want that change? They need to understand how they fit with your idea of change. There's no good you going into a community and being impositional about this change, particularly if you don't live there. So you need to understand the community that you're going into. You need to understand what people want out of this. And I know this goes against the grain, and I know this probably people will be tutting at me. You've got to remember as well that inherently, as human beings, we are quite selfish. We want something out of this. It could be something as simple as somebody wants a job, they want training to go on to a job. But don't overlook the fact that it's not a negative thing, but people are inherently sort of selfish in terms of, well, what do I get? People aren't going to keep doing something for free for nothing. So this is where it comes in. How do they fit with this change? Do they understand what you're trying to do? Engage people. If you don't place ownership in the hands of the community, you will not get change. As a change agent, your first role is actually to make yourself redundant, because if you make yourself redundant, the change should have happened. If you're not able to make yourself redundant, then either the project doesn't work the way it should have done, or the community haven't taken ownership. Either way, this sounds really blunt, what are you still doing there? I know that probably sounds blunt, but it's true. So I've always come at it that your first duty is to make yourself redundant, because you should not still be needed if the change has been passed over to the community. Anybody got a Facebook account? You must have seen hundreds of these. There's normally a cat in there as well. I chose not to do any cats. I could have done cats, but I chose not to. But we've all seen things like this. But it's true. But what you've got to remember is you don't want change for change's sake. You want change for the better. It's no good just going, well, that doesn't work, without understanding why it doesn't work and why people might want it changed. Have you got the community to back you? Have you got other people working with you to back you? And often as well, in some communities, change isn't easy. People rebel against the idea of change. That's where it comes back to that idea, you've got to take people with you. Mustn't be an impositional change. Self-awareness. If you don't understand yourself, and you don't understand your own skill sets, and you don't understand where you fit, how can you expect to help someone else? It's a really simple thing, and it does take time. The hardest thing is, we all know deep down what our own faults are, but admitting them's another matter. You can tell your cat, I don't mind. You don't have to tell anyone. But making yourself self-aware of yourself makes you a much stronger advocate for your community. Because you're aware of, I think somebody mentioned previously, don't be afraid to ask for help. Very true. But you might not necessarily know what you need help with if you haven't got this self-awareness. The thing I found as well from doing this, always be yourself, always be honest. If you need help, go for it. I mean, no one person will ever have all the answers. It's impossible. Working in isolation, it's dull as ditch water. Get a team, have fun. If you're trying to create change, you want to be able to giggle. It's no good being all high and lofty if you're not having fun with it. I'm sorry, no. This is something that takes people by surprise on times. Yep. There's quite a few of you sniggering, so you're fully aware of where I'm going with this without going into massive detail. Yeah, a lot of people will be disappointed to discover they're not at the centre of the universe. There's quite a few nods going on around here, so yeah. We've all come across them. But this goes back to that whole business of get the team around you. Work with your team. You know, if we go back to that bit, I mean, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the thing called the Belbin roles, where you have starters, shapers. Yeah, I know from that I'm a starter. So I make damn sure that I've got other people around me that have got other attributes, because it is that rounded team that's going to make you sort of get there. Sounds sad. There's tons of big studies. I mean, Birmingham University do an awful lot about economic deprivation and all the rest of it. And yes, they are necessary. Yes, they are incredibly useful. But if you're working with a community on the ground, you know that community. No 50-page document in the world is going to tell you that actually what this neighbourhood needs is something really simple, like a shopping service. Use that knowledge. Use your passion for your communities. Go with it. Stay with your instincts. You know your communities. I wouldn't know your communities without you showing me around, without me showing you the people. So use those strengths. But what you're aiming for is lasting change. Well, certainly that's what we're always aiming for. We want lasting change, because I've never understood the point of coming in, doing something for 12 months, and then going, ta-da, wasn't that lovely? Here's a nice PowerPoint, and run away. It's got to be a lasting change, and it's got to continue without you as the pivot, which is this bit. That's pretty much it, to be honest. I mean, the other thing to be aware of, I think James mentioned it earlier, social media. I'm well known for the fact that if there's a button, I press it. Hence all of those. Oh, no, if there's a button, I press it. But I'm not allowed on Pinterest unsupervised. I've lost 6 hours. I'm not allowed on Pinterest unsupervised. But seriously, if anyone wants to get in touch with us, you can just look for the Little Hippo on Facebook, Twitter, all sorts. You will find us pretty much anywhere. And seriously, the quickest place to get me is always Twitter. But thank you very much.
That was brilliant. Perfect time. We are running a little bit behind.
Oh, good. I got in time.
We're going to try and keep going. So if anybody's got any questions for Angela, I can hand you them all. So just put off by the time I said I was running out of time.
I just wanted to say, do you hold like different like events? So in terms of like different creative people getting together and sharing ideas?
We will be, yeah. We will be. I'm just waiting for the legal paperwork to come back from Companies House. Part of the thing that we did wrong with Bootstrap was we tried to do the project before the foundation was in. This time with Little Hippo, I'm making sure the foundation is concrete. Yeah. Hence why I've got people that go, oi, Lewis, you haven't done this. So yes, we will be.
Yes, okay.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Would that be sort of art, music?
All sorts. We go from poets to potters.
Anyone else?
If it's fencing, tell him no.
Just very quickly, I really like the kind of plan, do, review, revise ethos, because I think I'm definitely guilty of doing the planning and doing the sort of review. But do you have a kind of formal way of doing that, or a process that you always follow, or is it an informal thing where you just have a chat amongst where you're involved in the project and kind of, without even realising that you're really involved in doing that?
We sort of used to do it informally, but as Bootstrap, but one of the things I'm determined to do as Little Hippo is every second board meeting, which they're monthly board meetings, I want to actually build that into the board meetings properly, because I think we're all guilty of putting action points down, putting someone's initials, and then next meeting going, oh, have you done that? Oh, no, sorry, I forgot to do it. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to get anybody in trouble. I think it's very easy and it's very natural because tons of other things are going on, but it's something that, yes, I want to build informally.
When you work that out, then how you do it?
I think it's going to be called Jaffa Cakes as bribes.
Anyone else?
I'm confused as to what you do exactly.
No, that's fine.
Are you sort of developing things in the community, or would you help people with their careers or mixture of
Both.
both?
I didn't necessarily go into masses of what we do because what I was asked to talk about was more the change process that we've had to deal with. But essentially, Little Hippo will have workshop spaces, creative course spaces for members of the public and for creatives. So we'll do the two sides in terms of like if little ones want to come and do felt making, but you as a creative want to come and learn about your tax workshops. We're hoping to eventually have retail. We'll be running craft fairs, exhibitions, things like that.
Have you got a centre or base?
I've just had approval from the County Council. I can't release details yet because we're just going through the legal aspects. But yes, I have got a base. No, near Wolverhampton. So that's where we're actually based.
Thank you so much, Angela.
You're welcome.
Thank you.